couple of items here. First, I would like to congratulate the Steamboat Days Committee and everybody that worked so hard on that event. It was a wonderful event and great for the community, and it was a good time. So thank you, everybody that was involved. Also, I'd like to read a proclamation, a short one. Whereas residents of Winona have expressed ongoing desire to engage with their neighbors in new ways in order to create stronger neighborhoods and a stronger community. And whereas Engage Winona, through its mission of moving Winona forward together, has created a new collaborative program titled Summer Small Talk to further those goals. And whereas Summer Small Talk will provide all residents a free Winona-specific online toolkit and other resources and opportunities in combination with other organizations and community partnerships to help and directly work with neighbors to build stronger connections with each other through conversation and informal events. Now therefore, I, Mayor Mark Peterson of the City of Winona, do hereby proclaim June 30th, 2017 as Winona Small Talk Day in Winona to commemorate this new program to create a stronger Winona. And Brian Verding is here. I'm sure I saw him walk in. There he is. Brian, you want to take a couple of minutes and talk about this new program?
Yeah, and I'll take just a couple of minutes. Thank you, Mayor Peterson and members of the council for having us. As many of you know, that Engage Winona is just working to build stronger ties among neighborhoods, among residents, among neighbors, through community engagement, to get everybody really on the same page and connected with this idea of kind of co-creating their future together. And everybody at this table has already done a lot of great work on that. And so the reason we wanted to bring this to you here tonight is because Summer Small Talk is a new program that will be going on throughout the summer. And it's really designed around the idea of getting folks to know their neighbors better. And it's also designed around the idea of creating collaborations among all of the really great existing programs and work that are happening. And so we've had existing talks with Chad and Patrick at the Park Rec about National Night Out and other programs. There's a Layton Broadcasting and a Rotary Club program called Know Your Neighbor that we've already partnered with. And really looking for opportunities to give folks the ability and the toolkit, and especially in the Midwest where we're all very passive aggressive and a little nervous about getting to know our neighbors. We've had a lot of good conversations about the neighbors we haven't quite met in our block yet, about ways of creating these stronger connections throughout the summer. So we really appreciate the proclamation. We appreciate Mark's initiative to put it forward to the city. We're really looking forward to rolling this out over the summer, and then certainly working with a lot of neighborhood champions, including city council members, to do this kind of work, really focused on not big events, not kind of blow it up block parties. We hope that's the ultimate goal, but we hope that the first steps are really just finding ways and really encouraging ways and giving folks the ability to feel comfortable and compassionate and connect with people who they live next to and share a lot of evenings and weekends with. So we appreciate this. I'll maybe turn it over to Molly. We have some postcards and things too, and we'll entertain any questions. And we'll also be in touch too. This is a program that's going on for a couple of months, and so we're looking forward to meeting with everybody at the table to talk more about it.
Okay, thank you.
So.
Molly, go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, I don't have much to add to that other than this really stems from the community conversations we had last year when we gathered over 500 Winonans together to hear what they wanted for the future. And we heard pretty resoundingly, we wish we were more welcoming, more inclusive, we wish we were a stronger community. And so this is sort of putting the charge back on everyone to, okay, well, how about you turn around, let's turn around and start in our backyards. Let's start close in with the people surrounding us in our immediate, in the place we call home. So this is really designed to kind of give people an excuse to talk to their neighbors, like you said about the passive Midwest, and really empowering it that this is a value we all shared, said we wanted, and so let's do it. So we do have cards, and there's a presence online, there's a Facebook group, and we plan to be sharing and helping each other have these conversations.
Any questions for Brian or Molly?
Well, here's a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So June 30th is the beginning. Do we have something on June 30th is the day? Do you have anything planned for June 30th?
It's really a summer-long event. We have an end-of-summer event planned in August. We have a community picnic that we'll be sharing more information about with everybody here and folks across the city. But in the meantime, it's really designed around the idea of encouraging folks and kind of working through our networks for people to have conversations. So there is no kind of big splashy event at the start. It's really just an ongoing process and project for people to build better connections.
Great, I look forward to it.
Yeah, we appreciate the support.
And you all represent different parts of neighborhoods, collections of neighborhoods. So it's definitely too an invitation to get involved in any level you want to kind of spark this in your own wards and see if you want to take a lead in helping generate some conversations in your own areas.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Mayor,
Yes.
could we get a postcard?
Oh, you sure can, George. If you want to have an event with Shinx, we're all for it.
Okay, okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brady. That's right.
Thank you. Okay, well, the next thing we have is we have a special presentation here tonight for Officer Alan Johnson, and we would like to ask him to come to the podium along with Chief Bostrak, and the city manager has a statement he'd like to read, and we have a presentation we'd like to make.
On December 22, 2015, Winona Police Officer Alan Johnson responded to a routine shoplifting call at a business in the city of Winona. The suspect was encountered by Officer Johnson and another officer as he left the store. A large knife was taken from the suspect by the officers, and the suspect fled. Officers apprehended the suspect, but Officer Johnson's leg sustained multiple breaks while landing on the pavement. The suspect continued to struggle, and even with a severe injury, Officer Johnson continued to assist the other officer in handcuffing the combative suspect. Due to his brave and committed actions, a dangerous armed criminal with prior felonies and a significant amount of narcotics in his possession was taken off the streets of Winona. Due to subsequent complications with Officer Johnson's injuries, he is no longer able to continue his career as a police officer. The City of Winona would like to present Officer Johnson with a Law Enforcement Purple Heart and the Police Medal for Meritorious Service. The mayor has those for you. And then just briefly, the Purple Heart Award is awarded in honor of those who have sacrificed their lives or well-being in the performance of their service. The Purple Heart Award is now presented to Officer Alan Johnson for his injuries received on duty on December 22nd, 2015. The Police Medal of Meritorious Service is now presented to Officer Alan Johnson for his professionalism and dedication to duty, which contributed greatly to the success of the Winona Police Department's mission to keep Winona a safe place. Officer Allen's actions reflect great credit upon himself, the Winona Police Department, and the City of Winona. On behalf of your law enforcement family and the City of Winona, we want to thank you.
I also have our standard retirement mailbox plaque given to all officers that retire in good standing, which certainly applies in this case. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service as well. Thank you.
That's all I have for tonight, city manager.
Was Greg? Greg, are you gonna go now? Okay.
Greg Carroll, do you want to give us an update on the mason jar building?
Mr. Mayor, Council. Today was the day when Mr. Hoffman was supposed to have all of his submittal documents in. All the engineering, the building or the building permit application, and all the other documents. We haven't seen anything. We received one email from him last week that said it wouldn't happen until sometime in July. Speaking with Mr. Hood today and among staff, we feel it's appropriate for council to approve the idea and the concept of moving ahead with a court date and move ahead with the demolition of the building. It's long overdue. And I don't have a good feel for when anything's going to happen. The shoring is there only until September, and time just keeps ticking on by. So we think it's appropriate to take court action. Questions, comments?
Well, George, go ahead.
Can we entertain a motion here for that
I
action?
don't think we need a motion. I think
No,
we've
there's
already
already- we've
taken
already done it.
action on this at a previous
This is
meeting.
mostly just an informational update.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry to hear this, I guess I have to
Yeah,
say,
we
but I
all
think
are.
that, I want to commend the city staff and the council and everybody for their patience, and 2.5 years is a long time to
Yep.
give this a
It's a
shot.
long time, and
I think,
I
I'd
think-
like to, really thank the owner of the building as well, because I think he was sincere for a long time about trying to make this go, and I guess it just wasn't going to be, but it's going to leave a big hole in our downtown historic district, which is unfortunate, but the fire was unfortunate as well.
right, and I guess it's time.
Well,
for the well-being of
I
our
think we've done
citizens.
everything that we can as
I
a
believe so.
council, so.
I believe so.
All right,
All right.
well,
Anything else?
thank you for the update.
All right, thank you, folks.
I do have one thing though, Your Honor. The city of Winona was presented as a green step city, step one. John Howard and I went up to a meeting with the League of Minnesota Cities, and we got our first block. And so
Alright.
we're off and running. It's really an acknowledgement of all of the great work that the citizens of this city have been doing over the years. It's really not much that we've done differently, but that'll come in our next 2, 3, and 4, and 5 steps as we keep moving forward.
Get a new block every time?
It gets a lot more extravagant as you go forward.
Okay. Well, I
All
look
made with
forward to,
recycled wood, right? Reclaimed?
Yes,
it's wood from the hood, it says on
it's
it.
recycled ash.
Excellent.
Ah. Can you bring this into the county?
Yes.
It's okay.
It's been treated.
All right. Well, that's good, thank you. Anything else?
That's all I have.
All right, we'll have roll call then.
Mayor Peterson.
Here.
Councilman Thurley.
Here.
Craig. Alexander.
Here.
Iden.
Here.
Borzakowski.
Here.
Schulmeyer.
Here.
Under the petitions, requests, and communications, item 3.1 is the liquor license renewals for 2017.
I move to approve the requests. I'd second that.
Motion by Michelle, and seconded by Pam. Any discussion? George?
Has there been any change with the ones you noted here that did not have the documentation in?
No update from what was in the council packet.
Okay.
Anything else? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.2 is the request to transfer the liquor license for Poots Tavern to Camille and Kevin Fisher. This would be effective July 1st.
Move to approve that
And I
request.
believe Kim is here if you have questions.
Second?
Motion by Michelle, seconded by George. Do we have any questions? If not, we will.
Just a comment, it's
Okay,
nice
a
to see
comment.
that the business is continuing as a neighborhood place that it's always been. So, congratulations, much success.
All right. Looks like we should vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.3 is a request for a temporary on-sale wine and malt liquor license for the Polish Cultural Institute's Apple Festival on Sunday, October 1st.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by George, seconded by Michelle. Any comments or questions?
No Polish in this one.
How's this pronounced?
Apple Fest.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.4 is the sign and banner schedule for the second half of the year.
Make a motion to approve the list.
Second.
Motion by Michelle and seconded by Paul. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.5 is a request by Winona State University for street closures during their move-in day on Tuesday, August 15th.
Move to approve that request.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Paul. Any comments or questions? Hearing
Yeah,
none?
I have
Okay.
one question. Is this first, have we done this in the past?
Every year, I think, haven't we?
Every year in years.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.6 is to renew the license agreement with Winona State for their banners on Huff Street.
I move to approve that
Second
request.
that.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Pam. Any discussion or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.7 is a request for a private event at the Boathouse Restaurant at the Levy Park on Saturday, July 29th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Paul, seconded by Michelle. Any comments? Yeah.
Yeah, question here on the licensed premises. Are they asking for Cal Fremling Drive to be closed around the Cal Fremling dock? And what about the parking spaces that are on the south, I guess the south side of Boathouse Restaurant?
I don't believe they're asking for the drive to be closed.
Mayor and council, the request is not asking for the drive to be closed, and we would not recommend that with the construction that's happening at
Exactly.
Levy Park. So we'd want Cal Fremling to be open during that time.
Good.
South side of the parking lot, same concept because of the work that's happening within Levy Park. Parking is an issue as it stands today. It's potentially only going to get worse closer to August. And so
Right,
we want to keep both of those open.
good. Thanks for the clarification.
Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.8 is a request for a parking restriction at Dick's Marine.
I would move to approve the attached resolution.
Second that.
Motion by George, seconded by Pam.
Keith, that's,
Keith, do you want to enlighten everybody about exactly what this is?
Mayor and council, actually, I'd like to have Lori come up and talk about that. There's a request, change to the request. In my packet, I put down one side of the road. The request is they'd like to have both sides of the road. Oh, Jeff will do.
Hi.
We don't really have this too often. The high water has been causing the people to come down to the far end where Ames and the Corps dumps sand, and it looks like it's a beach, but it's full of barrels, metal, stuff, and they've been parking, all these people have been parking in the marina where our slip tenants are parking, and they've been leaving trash behind, and it's been like a latched beach opposite end of the island. And we sort of like to control that because our boat owners are not happy with the people pulling up and taking their spots and walking up and over and going on that beach. It's really not a beach, it's a sand pile for the bridge project, and the Corps dumps sand there too. And it's because we have the high water that we do have another beach, you know, if you ever see it, we call Walk On Island. They park in the city parking lot, and they usually go to that, but that's flooded now, so they're not being able to do that. And plus Ames has half the parking lot that they have their equipment on. But it's been a concern the last month and a half with just all the people that want to use that.
You say that there's a beach area that they're, or the sand area that they're swimming in that's got barrels and all kinds
It's
of
just
stuff
that
in
the
it.
Corps drops in.
Should this be signed or something for safety reasons for people?
It's something that's, everybody's aware of, like Ames knows about it, they just sift through the sands, or everybody that takes that sand knows about it, but it's not, it really doesn't have to be signed, it's just not a public beach, basically, the upper half of Latch Island.
But it sounds like it's being used as a public beach
It
almost.
has been the last 2 months, 2.5 months, and we can't control those kids, they're just not, we're trying to be polite, and our boat owners that want to use the docks are trying to be polite, but they're just, and I think if you've seen the police report a couple weeks ago, we have had 2 altercations down on Latch Beach itself, they had some arrests, and they were at our beach earlier, because I recognized a couple of them. We don't need that on where you have families and stuff on the upper half of Latch Island.
Al?
Jeff, interesting thought. I mean, I drove out there today, and I can understand where Ames is, taking half of the parking lot there. What about if this passes, what about how do you control who parks on the street, or who would be responsible for controlling it? And secondly, what about boat owners who have slips there, and those boat owners have invited guests to come
we do have
and
signs
park there?
all over that we've made up, slip tenants only and guests beyond this point, and stuff like that, and they've worked, but now since there's a beach on the opposite side where they've been parking, the people have been parking in there and walking over to the beach. And there's like 15 cars on a good day that aren't anything to do with the marina that are taking up people's stalls to get down to their boats where they usually park. And they come out and they think that there's trash, we supply the trash, but they think that they can just lay nice wrapped up bags on the ground and that we would pick them up and stuff like that. And we would just sort of like control, because we've had some thefts over there, we've installed some cameras now and stuff, and the police are well aware of it, but we just don't need onlookers that don't have anything to do with boating around the area. We're not outlining them or anything, but we just...
Yeah, and people can still park in what's, if there's space available in that parking lot.
Oh, yeah, the parking lot's always open
Right.
for public parking.
Okay.
Some people do that. And
They might have to walk a little further.
Can we just show the map? We have a really good picture of the harbor that will show you what we're talking about.
We had one with the packet. I don't know if it's different than this.
This is really
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question.
That's the same
Okay.
thing. Lucy's got a good one there.
Now, this is the one that was in our packet.
See, that's actually the harbor.
okay.
This is where we're talking about.
Sure, right, and this is on
We
the
can
side.
sort of control it, we can
Thank
just
you.
tell the people to park down farther, then we have
Right
no
down
control if
there.
they walk through the woods or stuff like that. It's just that when they park 5, 6, 7 cars right where our main boats are parking down there, then it gets a concern to those people that are renting a slip from us in the marina in the city.
Well, it's like parking in front of your house sometimes.
Yeah.
You're not guaranteed a spot.
This is where we're talking
But on the other hand, this is a limited area.
It's that some of them just don't understand that, they just don't
So,
want to get
so
along.
you're asking us as well to have additional signage posted for,
And I'm
or
sure
do you
we
have
will come up
signage
with our
yourself?
slip. We would just like to have more enforcement of it, that we could say, you take a chance of being towed away here because it's slip tenant, guess only parking.
I
We
think,
can tell when they grab their bags and walk over a hill and,
yeah.
and use the beach.
It wouldn't be treated as a public street, it would be treated as like part of the marina where they control access to the docks.
Okay.
They would also control access to this roadway.
Yeah, Michelle?
So what you're suggesting is we take this public access area and road and make it private,
It's already part of the marina, but
but it's not covered under their license agreement?
it's part of the license agreement, but the license agreement says that public access has to be within that roadway unless the council agrees otherwise.
So right now, the recommendation is that we take away public access to this area.
To that section of roadway, yes.
Well, but I mean, all public roads are available for anyone to park on, whether they go to the marina or not. So what I'm asking is staff saying that we should take away public access to this part of the river, unless you rent a slip. Is that what we're being asked to do?
That's correct.
I guess I'm not in favor of that because it's a public road. I understand your concerns, and I guess next year maybe, I don't even know if I'd be okay putting in a license agreement. I get your problem, but I think of all of the areas where we have public parking, where people call and complain about it, and I don't know how we address it here, but not fix it for other businesses or locations where it's public access to a place where people want to be able to park their car in front of their boathouse. Because I get calls like that all the time from people who live near campus. They don't want the 5 students parking in front of their house so their guests can't. So I get the problem, but I feel like this is public property.
Maybe
And
we should try to get no trespassing on that, the coarse sand or.
yes, I think that would
We do
probably,
have it on the other side back in the day that we had boathouses moving up the island, up to our park that were parking on what would be the south side and walking up and over to their boathouse. And then there's in the lease that says no more parking on Upper Latch Island.
right. I'd feel more comfortable if we found out that that sand pile is not meant to be used by the public and we posted signs there, because I think that would solve your problem entirely.
Right.
Because that's why they're going there. But I feel, because it's public, I feel uncomfortable taking away that
It's
access.
public road.
Right.
And we allow everybody, it's just that,
Yeah.
you know, they've been just taking advantage of it, but.
Yes. And
If
they
we could
leave
get them from
garbage.
trespass, or not really, you know, like a trespassing, because it's really not a nice beach, but it's an easy beach. You can park right there and walk 50 steps and you're.
I'd never heard of anyone using that as a beach before,
I
so,
know it just happened because of the high water beach.
And I
because
think
the other
that-
beach, we call Walk-On underneath the interstate bridge,
Yep.
is all underwater.
and the
It's
sand
good.
is still there. I think normally it's gone too as we get into the summer, that there's not as much sand there, but
Yeah.
that would be how I would be more comfortable approaching it, so, I'm sorry, I understand your concern, but I'm just.
I understand about
Okay,
public roads, so,
yeah.
you know.
That's where I'm
how
just-
do we see who's pulling up too, but,
Yeah.
The only correction I want to make is it's not a public street.
Okay.
It's part of the marina property.
Okay.
It's not a public roadway. It just, the agreement says it has to have public access unless the council doesn't agree.
So you're saying this is not public road at all?
It is not a public street.
So really the public doesn't need access to this?
Other than the agreement says that public access will be provided on this section unless the council agrees otherwise.
So why would we have left it public in past? Why wouldn't we have included that in the license agreement? Is there no reason for that? Is it because Ames has to drive on it?
No, it's long before that. This is since Dick's Marine's been in that area.
Okay, so it's not really a road at all?
Nope.
Oh, then I don't have a problem. That, it just says public access road through, that was my problem.
Michelle, or Pam is next.
Yes, is this big sand pile is likely to go away by the end of the summer, or is like,
And
is
it's
it
always
Ames? It's an Ames?
it's always a drop spot for the channel.
Okay.
And
It comes and goes
It
all
comes
the
and
time.
goes.
The Corps wants to dump there because they look for places to dump.
Sure.
We want to get rid of it as quickly as we can, and the Corps will come back and dump it again. So
Do you-
it comes and goes.
Do you think that more aggressive signage, keeping people in the top parking lot would be effective, since this is likely to be not a long-term problem?
I'm not sure who would enforce signage on that beach.
Right. That's
It'd be
the,
a tough one. I mean, where people boat up and all up and down the river.
Oh, I
on
meant
the beaches.
signage in the parking lot, keeping people parking in the top parking lot, not moving down into the,
size.
yeah. Just more aggressive
List that,
signage, yeah.
you know, public parking, or, they all know that it is. It's just a few, but it's been our boaters are mad. We'll put it that way. That's more of the stories. The boaters are paying for their swim bread, and they're coming there, and there's tons of people in front of their boat, and they're using, sometimes they're unloading and everything, but we handle it good. It's just, there's just a few that, so we just want to come back and say, you know, can you go use the parking lot and.
I would wonder if signs saying, public parking stops here, or, something like that, that tells people where the boundaries
That's
are.
what we would have, we would make up is like, boat owners and guests beyond this point, we have them, and we would put them up really noticeable going down that
Yeah.
both side. And then from there, we would have to ask the people that do disregard that sign that, if they could just move, because we do have boat owners only beyond this point.
If the council agrees to allow them to restrict it, then they can come up with signage,
Okay.
appropriate signage or cable or whatever they want to do. But the council has to approve the restriction of parking out there or not.
so is the sand only gathered from the riverside? Nobody drives in there to get sand off of that pile?
It's put on there from the riverside. If we sell it or get rid of it, they come from the roadside and get it on the road. We'd have to give.
So that's the public access part. They need to be able to drive on the road to get to the
When-
sand.
Yeah, but we'd give them permission to do that, or they would give them permission to do so.
Okay.
There's other places to get sand though.
But we want them to take that.
Yeah, we have a lot of sand in the industrial park.
Right. I think Paul wanted to say something, and George.
So I do think this is one of those things where we've had high water for 12 months now, and it's been a long kind of re-rise of the river here in this late spring. So I think it's temporary. I'm wondering if we found a way to encourage beachgoers to use the main latch beach, maybe some minor improvements to the parking or to the road there might encourage them, but I suspect that once the river drops below 7, that will be less of an issue there because the beach will be well exposed on main latch.
That would be a council policy decision regarding the beach. I think a long time ago, it was decided not to have that as a public beach, Latch Island. But that's before my time. Council's never encouraged that use of that beach in recent history.
George.
Thank you. You know, Jeff, in all of your years over there at the marina, you know, you and your family, you pretty much know who has a boat and who the guests are.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you pretty much can tell, you know, who comes and goes over there. And I don't have a problem with, you know, with this request here. You talked about now the Latch Island out there where they all swim, where the old bathhouse used to be. Now, technically, that's not an approved swimming hole either.
No, it's not.
No, because I know, I say, it was the last warm Saturday I went over, and let me tell you, they were parked. They had room where you could cross the wagon bridge. And, you know, so be it. It's a nice warm day. Everybody's having a good time over there, you know. It's a little inconvenience for, you know, for one Saturday or Sunday, whatever. But, you know, but I don't have no problem with what you're asking for tonight, so.
Okay. Anybody else?
Just note that the resolution should be for parking on both sides of the roadway.
Okay. I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3.9 is the Sugarloaf Trail Plan presentation.
Mayor, Council, Patrick and I are here tonight to discuss and give an update on the Sugarloaf Trail Plan that the City of Winona had designed. I'd like to go over some current events before I turn it over to Patrick associated with Sugarloaf and offer some clarifications. So one of our main goals with Sugarloaf is to educate the public about the proper and safe use of this landmark. And so to start, we have 2 videos that we'd like to show you. And the first video by no means is a video, oops, there we go. The first video is by no means a tool to romanticize about Sugarloaf. Quite the contrary, the intent of this video is really to show the absurdity of climbing Sugarloaf incorrectly, and then give some perspective on the height of Sugarloaf and the vertical cliffs associated with that. So, go ahead.
I heard you, Pam.
Okay, so for a second, we'll just pretend that the individual who took that video had the right drone permits, but we'll let that go for now. It's an excellent video of Sugarloaf, but again, not something that staff or the Rec Alliance, or I know that the Outdoor Education Recreation Center at the campus at Winona State would not recommend this type of use of sugarloaf by any means. Patrick is pointing to a section where that arrow is, our pointer will mess up the video, but the section that he's kind of circling is where one incident recently occurred. Important to note that the individual that was injured or fell from this area was a hiker, was not climbing Sugarloaf. For what we understand, didn't have any intent of climbing Sugarloaf. But there is a small section on the north side, or that faces north off of Sugarloaf, that goes up about approximately 12 feet to 14 feet, where you can climb up that small section and get a good view facing north. This individual was coming off that section in flip-flops, slipped, and fell approximately 80 feet from that area. It's an important distinction as we move forward with what we want to do at Sugarloaf. This was a hiker, it was not a climber, didn't have any intent to climb like these individuals in this video without ropes. And so that's the section that we'll refer to here in a minute again. The second video that Patrick's going to queue up is from KTTC. It was a news story that happened last week that they did, which features...
Check out Tom's Take 2, my take on the wackier side of the news.
Ad here, and then we'll start.
The beautiful weather we've had recently means a lot of you are enjoying the outdoors, but some activities can be dangerous.
Just last week, 2 separate incidents at Sugarloaf Rock and Winona resulted in a need for rescue. News Center's Elena Martello was in Winona today and joins us live in the newsroom with details. Elena.
Well, Tom and Caitlin, the good news is that in Winona, Assistant Fire Chief Joel Corcoran's 10 years on the job, he says there have only been 6 fall-related incidents at Sugarloaf Rock, but the bad news is that 2 of those happened back-to-back last week, resulting in serious injury. Now, I spoke with Corcoran today about what happened and what you can do to enjoy the area free from harm.
It's a not-so-hidden gem for hikers in the Winona area.
It's become more and more popular. I know the Minnesota Climbers Association has put some anchors permanently into the rock up there at Sugarloaf.
Sugarloaf Rock, situated 550 feet above the roads of the city, a rock climber's mecca.
The rock itself is approximately 85 feet and is essentially vertical.
Despite its beauty, accidents can and do happen.
On Monday, we had a young woman fall. She was up there hiking with one of her family members, and she's lost her footing and fell approximately 80 feet.
As if that wasn't enough of a scare, the very next day, a young man fell from the rock, this time 250 feet.
The distance he fell is remarkable that he was able to recover from that.
Corcoran says the fire department is well prepared for emergencies such as these.
The training part of it's big for us, and we will purposely go to these places because they're accessed so often, just to make sure we're ready for a situation like this.
As for the adventure seekers, he says it's all about the more you know.
The most important thing you can do is educate yourself. Winona State University has some different facilities, and they have a climbing wall where they'll teach you how to appropriately harness yourself, keep yourself safe.
Assistant Fire Chief Joel Corcoran says not to let these 2 incidents scare you away from summer hiking and climbing fun. In fact, he encourages it. He just stresses to do it safely. Reporting live in the newsroom, Elena Martella, KHTC News Center.
So as we continue to try and educate the public about Sugarloaf, there's a couple of important corrections that I want to make. Joel Corcoran did an excellent job, I think, speaking on behalf of Sugarloaf, especially as a rescuer, to encourage people to use the area safely. However, not to get too uber critical with KTTC, the images they showed were not from Sugarloaf, they were from Garvin Heights. The falls that happened did not occur from rock climbers or individuals who are using Sugarloaf appropriately. So every time they reference the fall, I don't know if you caught it, but they would click to an image of somebody rock climbing. Again, these two incidences were hikers that unfortunately fell from the area. So again, falls did not occur from rock climbing or those that are using the rock appropriately. As we know, and it is certainly highlighted in the news story, that Sugarloaf is a destination. It's not necessarily a hidden gem. It's in our daily view, and it's certainly present in a lot of different facets. We certainly feel that a high percentage of individuals, both from Winona and guests that visit this community, simply want to see Sugarloaf up close and have no intent to climb it, like the actual rock. They just, you see it, you want to get up close to it, you want to go view it, you want to see the views. We know that there's a certain percentage that do want to climb Sugarloaf with appropriate gear and appropriate procedures and do that safely. And we certainly have a smaller percentage that simply see it as a challenge, like the individuals in the video, which again we would not recommend. And again, as I've mentioned, the more attention that Sugarloaf creates, certainly our department and the recreational climbers would advocate for this area to be used safely, and certainly would advocate for individuals using proper gear, and certainly would advocate for individuals not to free climb Sugarloaf. So really, to reiterate our goal before I turn it over to Patrick, it is really to educate the public about the proper and safe use of this landmark. The trail plan that Patrick will present outlines approaches that we can take to make the area more environmentally friendly. Certainly we know that the south side of Sugarloaf is seeing some environmental impacts that are negative with the runoff, etc. Certainly we'd like this area to be more community friendly as it relates to the parking on the south side of Sugarloaf, and you can see the trend that's happening here. And certainly we would advocate for a safer environment, not only for our users, but obviously for our public safety employees that need to go up to this area if in the event there is rescues. So with that, I'll turn it over to Patrick about more specifics about the plan.
Mayor and Council, an honor to present such a significant plan for park improvements. And before I get into it, I'd like to recognize the Recreation Alliance of Winona Group, many of which we've got the all-star team here in the back of the council chambers who had a lot to do with the input on this plan as well. So what I'll do is I'll go through this, and afterwards, if you have any questions, I'm happy to address. So City of Winona hired ISG to prepare a trail and signage master plan for the Sugarloaf Bluff Conservation and Recreation Area. And ISG worked closely with city staff throughout planning and design and conducted several site visits to examine the current conditions, examine the trail alignments, adjoining land uses and potential conflicts, and ultimately identify opportunities for improvements. And the presentation you're about to see will summarize ISG findings, and it outlines proposed recommendations to enable Sugarloaf's continuation as a community and regional asset. So today we'll go through a quick, super fast, brief history of Sugarloaf. We'll talk about what it looks like right now, how it's being used. And we'll talk about the improvements that ISG recommends, and then finally hit the implementation plan. So the brief history on Sugarloaf, it's a bluff on the Mississippi River. It's topped by a rock pinnacle that overlooks the city of Winona. Sugarloaf is a symbol of Winona and known by many as its most distinguishing landmark. And the bluff stands above the junction of Route 61 and Highway 43. It towers 500 feet over Lake Winona, and the pinnacle rising more than 85 feet above the remainder of the bluff. Sugarloaf's distinctive pinnacle is a result of limestone quarrying throughout most of the 1880s, and the stone quarried from the bluff's limestone cap layer was used to construct Winona's sidewalks and stone buildings. The bluff was also listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1990 for having local significance in the theme of entertainment and recreation. And it's interesting to note that it was nominated for being one of Minnesota's most famous landmarks to early travelers and tourists. So here's an overview of the map of the area. Here's your 58 acres. And currently, the access points to the trails here on the south side. You can see Garvin Heights Overlook here to the west. So there's currently no formal designated entrance or parking location for Sugarloaf Bluff hikers. People are currently parking along West Burns Valley Road in this area here, on the south side of the bluff, which is within a residential area. And West Burns Valley Road, here's another shot of the entrance. It is paved, it's approximately 24 feet wide. There's hillsides to the north and residential lawns to the south. Because of this, the road does not currently provide adequate width to accommodate parked vehicles. Visitors and hikers are currently accessing an informal trail system via the staircase, which is dedicated for access to a city pump house building. So it's important to note there's no formal trail access or entrance signage in place. The existing trail system does not follow sustainable nature trail design guidelines. You can see in these pictures here. There's a short segment even where the path crosses over onto private property. And several areas of steep incline, which you can see in the picture, have been resulting in erosion, unstable conditions, and declining conditions. So we know that if current uses continue, it's likely the paths on the south side of the bluff will continue to decline, and erosion and washout conditions will only worsen. I'm going to show you a quick video here, and this video was shot back in 2 years ago, I believe. A father and a daughter, you're going to see, they're showing up. He apparently has climbed this when he years ago, and he is attempting to find the trailhead and then attempting to make their way up. We'll show you a brief clip of this.
The Sugarloaf Mountain in Winona. So, okay, I'm hoping this is the right way because all of a sudden there's this, looks like. So I'm hoping this is the path. I'm gonna have to help Savannah up this hill. Look at this, climbing up the thing. I nailed my head on a branch. Lovely. It's all right. It's gonna be fine. I'll get through it. All right, we're gonna keep moving up this hill. Okay, up the hill. I haven't been here in many, many years. We'll see. I don't know what the trail conditions are like anymore. Here we are. Here's the trail. It's kind of straight up here. Actually, it's quite nicely groomed at this point compared to when I came before. I think the trail got washed out or something, and they must have came by and done something with it because it's much better. But we'll see as we keep going. Okay, so here's the dilemma. Path off to the left, easy looking, not too steep path, or this, just kind of straight up. Now, I would attempt to go straight up that, but since we have a little girl with, I think we're going to try this path and see where that goes. I think it'll probably just go around, so we'll try that. All right, so we came from down there where we were. Gets a little steeper over here. There's some limestone rock formation here, and then you come right around this corner, and you'll see what we got going on here. Extend this out a little bit.
This is the area where the falls occurred recently. That's the exact spot.
So we come around this corner, and here we are. Don't try to climb that just yet, just wait. You don't want to go down that way. All right, well, we'll keep going around.
All right, so as you can see through the video, everything that we've mentioned so far, the trail, the erosion, the unsafe pitch, the lack of signage, The lack of direction, the confusion is all built in right there. And again, this was shot about 2 years ago, and there's been some more significant erosion since that time. So moving on to the climbing area right here, one of the highlights of Sugarloaf, the Rock Pinnacle. It is and has become a destination for rock climbers. There are several groups within the region who use the Rock Pinnacle and adjacent area daily. Local climbing and outdoor recreation groups have installed climbing connections supported by the city and infrastructure to provide a safer environment with defined routes to the peak. However, there is still need for proper signage and public education. The area around the Rock Pinnacle, it's fairly level and provides really wonderful opportunities to view the area in all directions. You have views of Winona, of the river, all around. It's beautiful. The area could also serve as gathering, picnic, or educational learning space if the appropriate support facilities were in place. But as we pointed out in the video, the north side of the bluff has a sharp drop-off, and as of now, there are no visual cues or barriers to prevent individuals from going over the edge. However, we have a plan. For the recommendations for the existing trails, it's recommended that the existing trail system on the southern side of the bluff be closed to all users. It is also suggested that the trail corridor be stabilized and restored back to its original condition. A new nature trail system is recommended along the northern side of the bluff. This new trail system would utilize sustainable trail building practices and principles. 3 key factors in trail sustainability include the physical sustainability. So we will design trails to retain their form over years of use and withstand the natural forces, unlike what's currently happening. They will have ecological sustainability, will minimize the ecological impacts of trails, especially in sensitive areas. And then engineering stewardship, so we'll foster a sense of individual responsibility for the trails. So the map right here provided by ISG, you'll see a couple key areas. The area to the south, this is the current, so West Burns Valley Road, here's the pump house, here's the current trail. I want to point this out, this is the parcel of private land that must be crossed to get to the top. This area here, this is the proposed northern entrance to it. So what you're looking at is Sugarloaf Hotel, you have Sugarloaf Antiques and Crafts, and then Edina Realty in this area right here. So here's the proposed trail. It follows appropriate grade and connects to a natural trail that would take you right up in a more safe manner. So this proposed trail length to the pinnacle is estimated at 3,900 feet. That's 0.73 miles. And that'll vary on the final route where it's flagged, how it follows topography, existing features, vegetation, so it'll change a little bit. And then what I'm going to point out here, if you notice this section right here, the next slide is going to take for another proposed trail to a proposed future ice climbing area. So if you can just look at this spot right here, and I'll jump forward. We were just right over here. So this area to the potential future ice climbing is approximately 3,600 feet, 0.68 miles, which would take you right up to this edge. So this is an idea for potential future ice climbing. And we're aware that for future trail expansion to this ice climbing area, the city would explore easement opportunities as it's possible that the trail may cross onto private property to access the area. So ISG wanted to include that in for us as well. So let's talk about the options right here. So that was the trail, but how do you get there? How do you start out? So here's the trailhead. So given the current parking limitations, access, adjacent land uses, and erosion concerns on the south side of the bluff, it was agreed upon by the planning group that formally decommissioning the trails on the south side of the bluff is critical to protect, restore, preserve the southern hillside's integrity. So eliminating and prohibiting trailhead parking and access to the existing trails on the south side of the bluff is recommended in all of the 3 trailhead and parking options, which we'll go over next. So there's 3 options. We'll go through each one of them. Option 1, this proposes utilizing the parking lot and access drive currently owned by Sugarloaf Antiques and Crafts. And utilization of this property, of course, would be contingent upon the approval by the owner. This is a suggestion that was made by ISG based on their findings on the most appropriate placement. And an access easement agreement and parking lot use agreement would need to be prepared and signed by both parties. So option 1 would have agreement for parking Sugarloaf Antiques. This is the big green shed that they have. And then it would have another driveway and additional parking, and the trailhead would actually begin right here. So this is Edina Realty. So this is option 1. Option 2 is very similar. However, option 2, it eliminates the driveway and still connects to the trailhead here with a throughway, with a passageway here. So option 2, as we'll see in a moment, is a bit less expensive. Option 3, Edina Realty property. So we've got, here's Edina Realty, driveway to it right here. So the city currently owns the parcel west and south of the Edina Realty building. That is this line right here is a property line, as is this, jets west and then goes south, southeast. This is city property, as is the driveway and then a handful of stalls. So Edina Realty currently has an easement agreement with the city for access to their parking lot and building. And the property here is very convenient from a trail access standpoint. Option 3 here, it focuses on providing a connection to the base of the northern bluff with minimal improvements and investments. This is the lowest costing option. And important to understand that this option was developed based on the understanding that this approach could be viewed as a temporary solution and that the city could later pursue other better suited and accessible opportunities such as option 1 and option 2. So options 1 is Sugarloaf Antiques and Craft with additional parking. Option 2, no additional parking. And option 3 is the switch to Edina Realty. I'm looking at the cost summary right here. So these costs are, I know it's hard to see, so I'll read through them. These costs are based on the assumption that all work will be completed by private contractors and specialists. The estimates do not consider work that could be performed by city staff or volunteer groups. And all these costs are effective for 16 and 17 construction costs. They do include a 10% contingency that would cover design and permitting fees. Do not include easement and land purchasing costs or any other legal fees. So what we're looking at right here is $211,000 for the cost of the trail. So this is the trail. And then you have option 1 in green, option 2, and option 3. We'll dig down a bit deeper as we go. So again, this is the trail. This is from the trailhead to Sugarloaf, and then these are the trailheads themselves. I wanted to point out too, there are lots of granting opportunities. So there's a number of grant programs throughout Minnesota that the city could pursue to help fund. There's more than these, but these are some that are being recommended by ISG. You'll recognize legacy funding. There's federal recreation trail program funding. There's regional park grants, regional trail grants, state park program grants. So there's lots of money out there. And pleased to say with the relationship with Recreation Alliance of Winona, and we've got lots of support as well for helping with the fundraising. So digging into the costs right here. So this is the cost for the trail. So from trailhead to the base of Sugarloaf, most expensive cost right here. Reminding that all of the costs shown are done by professional contractors and specialists, not by volunteers. But the main cost right here is the mobilization, removal, disposal of trees and vegetation to create the natural surface trail, bridge structure, and stabilize the existing eroded slopes. We're looking at $75,000. That's the biggest cost right here. And then on the south side, where the erosion is and the damage is currently happening, there's a cost of $62,000, which would stabilize and restore those existing paths. And a third cost to point out for $21,000, this is a stone boulder barrier that would go in along the points that Chad mentioned, and we pointed on the video where the falls have happened. So it's a stone natural barrier that could cross, and we would include signage with that, but that natural barrier would help keep people in a safe spot. That cost is $21,000. The other costs involved from the trailhead to the top would be there's some different signage that would go in, destination kiosk, directional trails, policy signs, information for pedestrians, and then some area closed signs that would be on the south side. So total cost, including that 10% contingency, you're looking at $216,000. Now we're going to get into options 1 through 3, and option 1 was an additional parking lot that's tied into Sugarloaf Antiques and Crafts. The fee for this with the contingency is $74,000, and that includes all the same signage and the earthwork, the surveying. It includes removing the trees and vegetation, catch basin, everything. This includes a big cost right here would be adding water. So $7,000 could add water to the base, to the connector. So again, option 1, $74,000 with the additional parking. Option 2 removes that additional parking lot at Sugarloaf Antiques and Crafts. So this one's a bit less expensive. Total looking at $66,500, including the same signage. Does not include that parking lot, so the costs are down for that. And finally, option 3, that is Edina Realty and the city-owned parking and the driveway for access to it. So option 3, least expensive with contingency, $42,800. Again, that includes all the same signage, surveying, soil, fencing. They would have to remove some of the concrete surfacing in the parking area, removing, and then they would salvage the existing stones. If you've hiked up behind Edina Realty and you know the stairs there, those were put in originally in the license agreement for this type of future potential innovation to the area. So that would remove the existing stone steps, and then they are planning to reuse that. Includes crushed granite surfacing, 4-inch thick concrete surfacing, limestone steps, locally sourced is a heavy cost. Those locally sourced limestone steps would be at approximately $20,000. But this gets us up to the trailhead in the least expensive manner. Closing with the signage plan, ISG, we worked with Eric and Ross in Winona State and the RAW group when we came up with exactly the signage that everyone felt would be of most benefit. So we have some vehicular main signage here, vehicular secondary, we have trailhead signage, parking. Here's the main informational kiosk from a side view, from a head view, and then it lists all of the particular rules, policies, what to do is more of a focus on what not to do. And then even at the end here, we have some of the closure signage that we placed on the south side of the bluff. So the ISG finishes by giving us some a deep, in-depth guidelines, and this is just a snippet of it I put. But these trails will follow sustainable, they'll be natural surface trails. We have the general use guidelines that the contractors could follow. Have looked at the impact on the sustainability and trail stability, taking into account tread erosion, the risk factors, how the water sheds, looking into the native soil for the natural surface trail treads, making sure it's sustainable, and they've broken it down even into the specific types of trail building equipment that we need to use. So that concludes the presentation on Sugarloaf Bluff, and we are happy to answer questions that Mayor and Council may have. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Patrick and Chad. I just want to add one little history fact to your presentation and thank the DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution, for saving Sugarloaf for all of us back in the 1940s and then gifting that land to the city of Winona. I have a couple of questions here. How long would it be, if we would be developing this trailhead on private property, how long of an agreement would you try to get in place for that?
Mayor and council, repeat that one more time, I'm sorry.
Well, if we develop a trailhead on the Sugarloaf Antiques property, I mean, how long of an agreement would we want to try to get there? I mean, I know as long as possible probably, but
As long as possible. My gut reaction would be 30-plus years. I think that would be pretty standard to start in a license agreement. With renewals, and if it can't be that long, then certainly some clause with renewals for the option for us to continue to renew the agreement.
Okay. I'm sure there's other questions. George?
Yeah. I like option 3 the best. And my only question with that is, now we have the easement to go through, we're not crossing no private properties or nothing. The overflow parking, would that park then on East Lake Boulevard?
Yeah, Mayor and council, that would be the plan, George, is that the overflow parking then would go on Lake Boulevard, correct?
And they could park on the north side where there is no inconvenience for any neighbors or anyone there?
Yeah, driveway access isn't on that side, and so it'd be logical for them to park on that side, correct?
Okay. Thank you.
Paul?
Well, unequivocally, I think option 1 is the best option to go for. We have this monument is on our letterhead. It is in all the marketing we do in this community. It is the preeminent spot that people think about when they come to our town. I think we shouldn't shortchange it. I think we should give it everything we can to make this a destination spot for hiking and the launching point for making Winona a recreational center. My concern is with parking. I live on West Burns Valley Road. I've walked on West Burns Valley Road between Glen Echo and Sugarloaf Road, and there hasn't even been place to put another car. That's probably 50 cars. So, no offense, the Edina Realty isn't going to cut it. It doesn't even come close. So you have to be able to plan for, on average, on good weekend days, 20, 30, 50 cars, and if we're going to build a trail, they will come. So Sugarloaf Antiques needs to be aware when we do this, if we use their space, that it's going to fill up their lot. And I'm wondering if we can have access to this land that's right below Sugarloaf, that is either owned by the state or somebody where it's not on the GIS who owns it, that has been there and not used for a long time, and maybe they're caring for it, if we can put a lot there and not encumber Sugarloaf Antiques.
Pam?
Yes, well, speaking of parking, what estimate do you have on the number of
the number of cars or the number of people that would be wanting to access the trails through that point?
Mayor and council, for option 1, that would include the additional parking, there are 10 stalls that would be on the northwest side of that green shed that's part of Sugarloaf Antiques and Crafts. And then there's approximately another 20 stalls, approximately another 40 stalls that are tied to Sugarloaf Antiques and Craft. And then we would look at using half of that. So we would have about 30 stalls under option 1.
Has the city talked to Sugarloaf Antiques at all about this?
No. Merely a proposal from ISG that, from ISG's perspective, this is the primary way to go. We have spoken with Edina Realty, who is aware of the project.
Okay, I have another question.
Okay.
Yeah, I noticed that option 3 had no water, there was no water provided. Option 1 and option 2, there was water. What is all that about?
The water would be a benefit to local users filling up water bottles there. Option 3, excuse me, being the least expensive. They chose to leave that out, but that was an additional cost of $7,000.
Okay.
And most of the users, it would be a benefit. Most of the users come prepared with hydration packs, water bottles.
I like the idea of calling it the conservation and recreation area, like that.
George?
Yeah, back to the Sugarloaf property there. You know, there's several businesses in there besides just one, or I know there were. And, you know, they're all going to have a concern for parking. And I think, you know, before we think we can take a lot of their parking away, I think they'll probably, and I know this is all early discussion. I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussions on that, how much parking we take. Yes, it is a good spot, but from a business that's paying taxes out there, it's going to bring up some conversation. And the land, Paul, that you're talking about, which I'm familiar with as well too, Mark Zimmerman, that state of Minnesota property, and Mark Zimmerman on his own has cut that so it looks nice, because the state can't cut every week like we cut our yards. You know, that may be maybe a month or 6 weeks, whatever, but Mark on his own goes and cuts that grass so it looks nice for his business up there.
Al?
Mayor and council.
Go ahead.
Mayor and council, just that point again, Patrick said it now twice. We certainly haven't had any discussion with Sugarloaf, but we would hope that 30 to 50 cars each weekend near that business would maybe generate some business for them as well, and that they would look at it as a positive to generate some more business, regardless of what's in that space. So we would use it as we advocate for that spot if we end up going down that road.
Okay,
A couple of things here as I was listening to the presentation. What about, you said the possibility of grants, how you can't obviously put a percentage on it, but is there something that you're pretty confident there that this fits perfectly for, that there's a grant program out there that this would just be a wonderful match for at this point?
Mayor and council, I don't know if that we're necessarily comfortable choosing one.
Well,
I mean, the obvious
series of them.
Yeah, there's a series of them. I think obviously the legacy dollars is something that people often refer to quickly. What we're hearing more with the legacy dollars is that for a period of time it was connectors to trails or connectors to regional centers.
Okay.
We have heard that there's more interest in those grants going to outdoor rec opportunities, which we think obviously Sugarloaf would fit. I think the conservation piece might actually be more of an avenue to secure funding than we would in a recreational sense. But again, that's 6 of one and 6 half of the other.
Mm-hmm. What about ongoing maintenance for something like this? Would it be similar to other trails the city has? And that would be the city's expense? Or would this be used in the wintertime, or, you know, what's the envisioned plan there for other times of the year? besides
Yes.
the ice climbing opportunity that Patrick
Yep,
mentioned.
so we would certainly want to use it for ice climbing. I can envision people snowshoeing up there as well and doing winter hikes up to the base, so that's relatively common. And yes, I think we have to also take a more proactive approach of the city maintaining the land that it owns. And the trail certainly would be an area and an item, to use a word, that we would need to maintain.
Well, I'd like to say that I think that your plan is an excellent plan. I think developing Sugarloaf as a destination for people and in a safe way, and obviously from the photos and other experiences, I know that the south side of that is not sustainable the way it is, and I think we need to come up with another plan. I do have some concerns about, the development on private land, but if you can work out some kind of a deal, I think option one might be the best way, if you can work an agreement out with Sugarloaf on that, but if you can't, I think we should look at other options. I'm all in favor of it. So. Paul?
Just another note about signage. Are we planning some type of interpretive signage as well? And if we do, I would also encourage consulting with the WDUA and the Dakota to get some background and history so that that's incorporated in the trail system.
Other comments, George?
No, what's our timeline on this?
Mayor and council, our plan today is to put some signage up, mainly for the purpose to notify individuals of the potential danger of the area. And then we'll bring back a proposal within the 2018 budget for the trail development. So likely mid to fall of 18 would be the assumption, if those dollars are approved before any substantial work would begin. Certainly, we would look at other avenues to do some trail maintenance if we can with volunteers. There's certainly other avenues where maybe we could begin some trail work. That's something that could happen yet in 17. But from the plan perspective that we just showed you, and those dollar amounts, we would propose those or iterations thereof in the 18 budget.
Let's not rule out private funding either. You haven't mentioned that, but I think there's an opportunity. I know you and I had a meeting a few years ago with an individual who was eager to contribute for something like this. So.
Certainly.
Other questions?
No, I think just a comment, I think this is great. Full speed ahead.
All right, well, thank you.
Moving on to unfinished business, item 4.1 is to award the contract for Sunnyside Lane new sanitary sewer and water main extension to the low bidder A1 Excavating, the bid of $444,338.60.
I would so move to adopt the attached resolution and award the contract to A1.
Second.
Motion by Al and seconded by George. Discussion? Al?
Talk to our city engineer and understand that assuming this moves forward, chances are that process would begin in August of this year.
Okay.
For those residents in that area.
All right. Anything else? We'll vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Under new business, item 5.1 is the Solar Stone Community Solar Garden.
John, this is your department.
Mayor and Council, Gordy Simonton from Solarstone Partners is here to give a presentation on what his company does and has worked on with other local partners. So I will turn it over to him and be here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, this is meant to be just informational at this point. Staff has been working with Gordy for quite a while. I know Gordy from Victoria, so we've actually worked together for many years, but we've invited several other folks to take a look at what's being offered here and also look at other options for renewable energies for the city, as well as cost savings, plus we think it reflects the value of the community.
Thank you, Steve. Good evening, Mayor and council members and staff. Thank you for this opportunity this evening. As Steve pointed out here, we worked together. I've been on the other side of the dais as well in my own community. But I thought I have just a very, very brief presentation. I was asked to give 5 minutes here, so I'm going to stay inside of that and then field any questions for you. Just a little bit about us. We are a solar-based development company headquartered in Minneapolis. We currently have 30 megawatts on Xcel's grid as of since 2016. So that comprises 8 projects that we've already completed. One of those, which is in close proximity here, would be in Wabasha, right by the correctional facility on Hiawatha. And then we also have another facility in Byron. And we partnered back in 2015 with NRG Energy to be our development and finance partner. They are the largest independent electrical generator and solar developer in the U.S. And they will also, when we reach financial close with them, NRG will own, operate, and maintain that facility for the life of that garden. NRG is a Fortune 200 company. Oops. Just to give you an idea of the kind of scale that we're talking about here, this is our location. This is just off of 52 in Pine Island. And this is a 5 megawatt site for us. This is our Farmington location. This is just south of the town. We just had a grand opening in May for this facility and invited down quite a few dignitaries from the state, from Xcel, and also NRG. It was interesting to note on the day that we had this grand opening, it was raining unbelievably. And even you had trouble underneath the tents that we were in, even hearing the speakers. But NRG brought in a couple of their engineers that ran a dashboard. And that facility on that day was generating about 2.5 to 3 megawatts with no direct sunlight. And then this is our Byron location. I like to just show this because this is the substrates, the piers, the frames that you're looking at. We also don't need to be on a pool table. We can take about a 10% grade, so we don't like to move a lot of dirt if we don't have to. But this is a shot of that to give you an example there. From our activity in our portfolio, we have 16 projects that we are going to be building out. 15 of those have either a CUP or IUP approval. 12 of those projects already have the interconnection agreements from Xcel. We can build them, but if we can't connect to Xcel, it doesn't make any difference. And our total capacity in the portfolio is 72 megawatts. And we currently today have 67 megawatts that are subscribed. So these are signed subscription, 25-year subscription agreements. That's about 83–84% of our portfolio currently right now is subscribed. These were the 8 projects I talked about before. So Wabasha, Byron, Pine Island. Those are currently all online. The last one to come online here in July will be Big Lake. Our third tranche of construction is going to start this summer, and we have 8 remaining projects to do. So down in this area specifically for Winona County, Rolling Stone is a 5 megawatt facility. That is 80% subscribed. When we started our marketing efforts down here in January, we didn't have any subscribers on. And the same goes for Kellogg. That is on a retired gravel pit, Matthew Gravel Pit. That's a 3 megawatt site, and that will be in obviously Wabasha County, and that today is about 50% subscribed. The framework for the subscription, back in 2015, in December of 2015, we were awarded the Met Council RFP, and so we probably spent about 3 or 4 months vetting our contract with the Met Council's legal and procurement team. What that has meant to almost all the governmental entities that we have worked with is there have been very minor changes to the contract. If we were to give you our standard contract, we would probably spend 60 to 90 days. You would be spending a lot of legal fees to do that. Case in point, Winona County, Karin Sonnen, I didn't know this, but we had to provide the contract to her, and Mr. Fritz called me later and said, I just wanted to let you know, Karin was a legal counsel for the PUC. So when the contract came back, there were no red line changes to it at all. So she was very pleased with the work that they had done. What we typically see at the governmental entities that we subscribe is they go with a 1% annual escalator off of our price, starting at 12.2 cents per kilowatt and a 25-year contract. It's a more conservative play, but from what I understand, the municipalities and the counties really don't want to find themselves being upside down at any point during the contract terms. This just gives you the last 12 years of what Excel's rate increases have been. That average is about 4.5%. In 2017, they raised that 4.7%. And I can also add, too, that in the last 20 years, and this is on their website, they have averaged about a 3% increase year over year in the last 20 years. This is just a quick overview here of who we currently have on our roster. Most of the cities at the top were part of the Met Council program. And then you'll also notice at the bottom that the city of Wabasha, La Crescent, and Dakota are all subscribers of ours. La Crescent and Dakota being very recently. Counties that are subscribers, Winona County came on and started, I believe it was at the end of February, early part of March. And then Wabasha County has been a subscriber with us since last summer at this time. From an academic standpoint, the Wabasha School District, St. Mary's University just came on here about 60 days ago, and the Winona School District just subscribed here about 30 days ago. So one other point that I want to just point out, to point of interest, on our Wabasha facility, both the city, the county, and the school district all subscribed to that facility, and they sold that out. So in fact, we had to take some of the load and put it down onto our Byron location there. So that's kind of a nice story for us anyway, where a community actually came together, all three of those entities did, to be able to subscribe onto that card. And then these are some of the corporations that we have. Obviously some big hitters up there and from a corporate standpoint, but we just signed about 60 days ago Hayfield Window and Doors, and we're just in final contract negotiations with Becker Furniture up in St. Cloud. Sequence of events, I'm almost done here. So we have already gone through this process here. Excel requires us to get a data privacy form signed by the prospect. So we've taken care of that, gets you your 2-year average usage. And then we provided that financial analysis, which Steve and his staff have, which is a 25-year pro forma to give you an idea what the savings would be over that period of time. And these steps we haven't completed yet, but I know that Steve has this too, is the Met Council subscription contract. While it has gone through the vetting process, we still recommend that any entity go ahead and have their legal take a look at it just to make sure. And then we ask everybody, whether it's Ecolab or a resident, we need to get the credit rating, the credit worthiness, able to subscribe to that, and then we submit that application to the public utility, in this case Excel, for approval. Why us? Well, there's no current electrical supply, or your current electrical supply remains stable, so we're not asking you to unplug from one resource and plug into another. The only mechanism that you're going to see that's going to change is the billing mechanism. And the other thing too is there's no upfront cost, there's no operating maintenance or capital expense to this program either. The commitment, basically, the financier is just asking that the subscriber come on for 25 years. That facility in Rolling Stone is probably about a $12 to $13 million project. All 16 of our projects are financed. As I mentioned earlier, 95% all have CUP approval, 80% interconnection approval, and NRG will own, operate, and maintain these for the life of the facility. And it's also, in our opinion, this is the last, your opportunity to take a leadership position in the solarization of Minnesota. So that concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to.
Okay, well, thank you. Paul.
So you, I'm sorry, I forgot your name?
Gordy.
Gordy. Do you have any of your capacity reserved for residential users?
20%.
Is that part of the remaining percentage that you showed us?
It
or
is.
is that off this chart?
It is.
It is?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, we've done that on all of our locations, and actually we have probably close to 10 megawatts in our portfolio for residential. One of the unique things, and I'm going to make this real quick, but part of the mandate that the state put together back in 2013 for Excel was, and the actual name of the program is a Shared Community Solar Garden. So no one subscriber can take more than 40% of a garden. And the reason for that is they don't want anybody coming in just monopolizing and taking all of it. You also have to have a minimum of 5 subscribers on each garden. So you have to have that spread out too. So we have to manage that, and residential is a great way for us to be able to meet that goal there.
Well,
Anything else?
I guess there's no other questions, so, George, I guess.
Interesting information.
Well, thank you. It's better than going out and trying to sell a photomat franchise.
Well, I think what I think the message we're giving here tonight is that we would like to have staff continue to explore this option with Solar Stone and come back at some point to the council.
Terrific. Yeah, we would love that opportunity.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Gordy.
Moving on to item 5.2 is the Windcraft amendment to the development agreement.
I would concur a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll second that.
Motion by George and seconded by Al. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.3 is the MnDOT request for a master partnership contract.
I would approve the attached resolution to be in order.
I would second that.
Motion by George, seconded by Pam.
Just one minor friendly amendment, if you will, to the resolution on the third paragraph, where that is the third whereas. It says, whereas the parties wish to, I think the word was be able. It was missed, at least in my copy of the resolution. I don't think it requires a formal amendment, but just kind of a friendly word that should really technically be included there. Doesn't substantially change the meaning.
Grammatically, that will be corrected.
Yes, thank you.
Should this pass.
Does Keith have anything he wants to add on this, or? You looked like you wanted to say something.
You're ready to jump up there.
That's good. Mayor and Council, this is the general agreement with MnDOT that allows them to do testing for us. We bring our samples from all the construction projects to them, the bridge inspections, anything along that line of construction, rather than us training all our folks and setting up a testing lab or going with private folks. We can go through MnDOT and let us test.
Any other comments or questions? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.4 is the final plat for the Wittenberg Place subdivision. And I would note there are 2 resolutions, one for the plat and one for the development agreement.
Can we do them together?
I would move.
Okay.
Pardon?
I was just checking with the attorney if we can do them both
We
together.
can see the nod over there, but,
If you want to make that motion.
okay. I would move both resolutions to be introduced for adoption, and assuming a second, I have a question.
I'll second that.
Motion by Al, seconded by George.
Okay.
Al?
Had a chance to visit with some of the adjacent neighbors to this property, and this is a process that's been going on for a while. I know one of the issues that they had was the issue of access to these developed lots going forward and how they would impact the adjacent residential properties. And I see, Carlos, perhaps you could explain how that's going to work. Well, we're not at that stage yet. Let's clarify where we need to be.
So the proposed subdivision includes a single property that's proposed to be divided into 3 properties. One of the properties has a house on it right now, and there'll be 2 properties that will be available for development. We will take a look at the access drive and the location of that access drive at the site plan process.
Okay.
So it's not part of the subdivision approval. We can address any potential issues with that during the site plan approval.
I just wanted to bring it up, just so that's on record, as being a concern is expressed by people in that area going forward.
Okay. Paul?
I just want to echo Councilperson Thurley's comments, that I also, there was some concern about access and how that impacts the current property owners who are there.
And just a comment too, I think this is one of the unique arrangements because even though the property is in Winona, at least two of the lots will have their services supplied from the city of Goodview. And that's all part of what happened in that zigzag area between municipal boundaries between Winona and Goodview. It's kind of too bad we aren't one area. Anyway, that's an editorial comment.
Okay. Anything else? All right, we'll vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.5 is a forecast public art project.
Move to approve.
I would second that.
Motion by Paul, seconded by Pam. Any discussion about this, or is anybody?
I used to be a member of Forecast about 30 years ago.
Okay.
So I think they've worn many hats, and I think we need to shine the light on some three-dimensional work here, our opportunities here in town, and this is a good way to kind of get the ball rolling.
We're really excited about this opportunity, Mayor and Council. This is their first shot at doing art planning, and so it's going to be a tool in our toolbox as we go forward. It will really help to inform especially our planning staff. It'll also energize our fine arts groups and then other community art members as well.
I have a question, and just let me get to the page where I had my question marked here. On the exhibit of scope of services, it talks about something called the creation of learning content and design of learning tool document. I'm a little in the dark about what that is and what that will mean for the community here for $10,000. Or at least part of it anyway.
Sure. So part of this project, the main aim of this project is to create a learning tool for city planners, not just in Winona here, but really nationwide. And that the point of that learning tool is to help planners to create a process to make public art, help make public art happen on a more frequent basis, especially in smaller cities, cities with around the same population size as the city of Winona here. So what that learning tool will help us to do is to institute a process for including public art in the city planning and development process. So bottom line, hopefully more public art more of the time in Winona.
Okay.
Anything else? We'll vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.6 is the approval of the Levy Park Gateway Project change order.
I would move to approve the attached resolution.
I would second that.
Motion by George and seconded by Pam. Chad, take it away.
Mayor and Council, one piece that I do want to clarify is that we do not have the change order before you tonight. What we're asking for, because it is a significant change, is your approval for staff to go back and execute the change order, and the change order would then come back for a formal deduction. Unfortunately, this is a significant piece of Levy Park design that we are asking to be deducted. The structure did need Corps approval. We knew that all along, both ISG, the city, Corps, knew that that permitting process needed to take place. But in order for us to move forward in a timely manner, get patio work completed, footings in place, we needed that permit, and we to date have not received that permit from the Corps. So we're asking for this deduction to happen.
Pam.
Why not? Why haven't we received anything from the Corps? Are we on good terms with the Corps? Can we just call them up and say, come on.
No.
No.
We're not on good terms?
We are on very good terms with the Corps, but you can't just call them up and say, come on. It just doesn't work that way. And so I think we've exhausted all efforts. We could still continue to hold out and wait for it, but I think even the structure that we approved, it only served really the purpose of providing shade. And what we're looking at is a staff to bring in its place, I think will serve better as an amphitheater for the, for the types of events that we want to hold on the patio area.
Mayor and Council, the only thing I'll add is that we've had, ISG has had face-to-face sit-down meetings with the Corps. City staff has been involved in those conference calls. Those conference calls and face-to-face with ISG, we were given an approximate time frame, and when we asked the Corps for permitting in and around that time frame, the response is it wasn't ready. So it's not certainly for a lack of effort by either party.
Okay, okay.
Paul?
Well, this doesn't mean that the shade is history, so to speak. Can we still do that? Because it seems like that was somewhat of an integral piece to providing some comfort because of the way people are facing when they're looking toward the proposed entertainment.
Again, this specific structure needs the Corps approval primarily because of the footings that we're going in close to the flood protection system. I don't view it as an end-all to shade within the park. I mean, I think there would be other options as we move, further east. An important piece, not to downplay it, is that we removed 17 trees with this project, but are replacing them with, I think it's 42 or 48, somewhere in that neighborhood, mid-40s of trees that are going to be placed within the park. So we certainly have increased the trees that'll be in that area. I don't think the shade component is history with this deduction. I think that's something that we'll have to look at in the future. But the significant footings and the structure that was designed, I would consider that this deduction is certainly the end of that design feature.
So this is a very expensive piece of the whole project, and I guess that, there've been some conversations about, if this doesn't go forward, then finding a way to provide some kind of temporary staging that could be put in that place. And to me, I think that might even be more useful than the shade structure that we were looking at for events down there and for other things throughout the city. So I think that looking into providing some kind of movable, temporary staging to be used on the patio and other areas, I think would be a good alternative to this.
Correct.
Yeah.
So is it your intent then to withdraw the request to the Corps of Engineers for this approval for the footings?
No, we'd actually want the permitting process to continue to move forward primarily so that you can see if it's allowable, just to be blunt. And if in the future we want to add something, that permit is in hand or that verification is in hand. So we are not withdrawing our design proposal to the Corps.
So assume we do something else, how long does the Corps give their approval to do something there? In other words, once you've made that request, but you don't go through with it, where does it leave that request with the Corps?
Mayor and Council, technically it's not a permit. It is an approval letter saying that this design option is approved on the project. So once they've approved that footing, it's forever approved.
Unless their rules change.
Unless the rules change like has happened in the past.
Happens with dikes in the past, yes. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? All right, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.7 is the parking analysis for downtown Winona. We did provide a resolution to approve this contract.
I would move to direct staff to execute the proposal from Walker Parking Consultants.
I'll second that.
Motion by Al and seconded by George.
Mayor and council.
Yes.
On this, we wouldn't want to enter into our professional services contract with them, so we don't want to execute their proposal. So
You want to do the resolution?
You want this
Oh.
resolution that was,
Okay.
that was attached today?
there's a new resolution?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes, passed right before the meeting, this was passed.
Okay.
Okay, execute the resolution then, technically.
The resolution authorizes the development of normal professional services agreement with this attached as a scope of work.
Okay.
So this is the
Okay.
one that we just moved on.
Right.
Okay, everybody clear on the motion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.8 is a request for funding for the central garage hoist.
I would move the approved attached resolution.
I'll second.
Motion by George, seconded by Paul. Questions or comments? George?
Yeah, just one question, you know, we need to get this hoist replaced as soon as we can. Did this hoist give us any signs of, I don't know what word to use, weakening or instability, let's say 5 years ago, or all the, you know, where we could have worked into it? I mean, I'm for it, but we didn't really have much notice that,
We really never thought it would get to, well, we didn't think it'd get to this point this quickly of not being repairable. The plan was still that as things happen to service it and repair it. It's been around a long time. The portion that needs to be repaired or replaced is only half of the hoist. The other half of the hoist technically is not legally safe anymore. It doesn't have the locks in place. So it doesn't make sense to try to repair a portion of it when the other half is not technically legal anymore. So no, we didn't have the forewarning coming other than it was very old.
Okay.
But it's time to be replaced.
we've definitely got our dollars worth out of that one.
Yes, we have. Yep.
22 years, yeah.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
And item 5.9 is the Winona Public Library awning replacement professional services contract.
I would motion to direct staff to execute the contract with Owen Warranty and Associates for the awning replacement.
Second.
Motion by George, and give it to Pam, I guess. Comments or questions? George?
Yes, that awning's got some years on it. Thinking, what, 86 it went in, 87?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, it has long surpassed its lifespan since the 1987 edition.
Okay, so,
And the project is twofold, with replacing the blue awning with a more permanent structure, but also with preventing water intrusion into the front lobby of the library when we get a hard rain. So there's a drainage piece to it as well.
Will this design be run past SHPO? It will. Okay, good. Al?
Would the eventual replacement eliminate those center posts that are currently there between the two doors?
The preliminary talks we've had with Mr. Warnicki, yes.
Oh, good.
Anything else? Glad to hear the blue is disappearing. Just
We get a lot of
personal
feedback on the blue. I don't know that too
bet.
many will miss it
I'll
at this
bet.
point.
when would this project begin?
The timeline, if it continues to move forward this evening, our hope is October.
October. All right.
Everything, right?
All right. Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Item 7.1 is council concerns.
I'm gonna have to start with Al. He looks so lonely down there.
I don't know what happened, they're abandoning me on this side of the table. My only comment is that Wednesday, last week, 14th, was not only Steamboat Days, but also Flag Day, and also the first Winona Municipal Band Concert of the season got underway, and they continue every Wednesday at 8, weather permitting, at the band shell at Lake Park. We have a great Winona Municipal Band, great director, great support staff. Patrick was mentioned at the concert last time for his support now with the band, and encourage people to get out and enjoy a summer's evening with the band. I think my highlight of the last concert was when they played the Beer Barrel Polka, so that was really fun to listen to. But it's a good group, and we encourage you to, every Wednesday at 8 o'clock to be there.
Should have called me.
Pam?
Nothing tonight.
Paul?
Sure. Just want to remind people that this is National Pollinator Week. So know your native prairie. And you know that our coneflowers and black-eyed Susan, spiderwort are providing ample pollen for bees. Our native prairie is literally covered, and we are in town. So I also have a link to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife pollinator page on my council Facebook page if anybody wants to go for that. I want to just kudos to staff. I biked by the dog park on Sunday, and there were 7 dogs and a dozen people in the park, and it seems to be getting a lot of use. And so congratulations, we're there, and it looks like there were a lot of happy 4-leggeds out in the field with their 2-legged masters. And I want to thank XL Utility and the City Fire Department for their quick action to get our power back again on West Burns Valley Road. Seems we're the center of attention every time the power goes out or we get a storm. They did a good job, and I want to thank them for keeping everybody safe and getting us back up and running.
Thank you, George.
All right. Thank you to the Winona Steamboat Days Committee. I know several people that are on that committee. I know our city clerk is on the committee, and these people put a lot of time, not only during the festival, but all week, all year, excuse me, because I work with people, they have vacation. It's Steamboat Days, they give it their all. And I want to thank all those people that worked this event to make it a great success. I know I thanked them last time, but yesterday was the last day for Bill and Mike Schneep for their operations. The new owner will be taking over today, and thank them for 20-plus years of service. I didn't realize it was that long, but that is a long, long time. And also, congratulations to the Winona Senior High School girls softball team on winning the state championship. So congratulations to them. A lot of proud young ladies, and they're gonna do well, and they made our city very proud. Thank you.
The city manager just suggested we should invite them to the
Yes,
council.
yes. I thought
Good
I
idea,
did.
as we've done with the other teams. So you'll take care of that, okay? Next.
And finally, the consent agenda, there are 4 items. Approval of the minutes from June 5th, the final adoption of the ordinance for the development code, and I would note that should include approval of the summary ordinance, the final adoption of the new zoning map ordinance, and an ordinance for a controlled intersection program, which was revised at the introduction, and I've included that final ordinance for your review.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
I'd second that.
Motion by Al and seconded by Pam. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
If no one objects, I move we adjourn.
Oh, wait, second that.
We have a motion and a second, and no objections. We adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's going to be so nice. I'm hungry. I have my cinnamon roll.
And my cinnamon roll.
I had a few things to sign and a few things I have to